Imagine a land defined by an unforgiving desert, its people scattered, its future uncertain. A place where survival was a daily struggle and wealth a distant dream. This was the Arabian Peninsula in the early 20th century, but amidst the sand and scarcity, a young man held a burning ambition to reclaim his family's lost kingdom. Born in 1876, Abdulaziz ibn Saud grew up in exile. His family, the House of Saud, had been overthrown by the rival al-Rashid clan. The memory of their lost power fueled his resolve. In 1902, at just 26, Abdulaziz embarked on a dying mission. With a small band of loyal Wayos, he set his sights on capturing Riyadh, his ancestral home. The target, the imposing Masmak fortress, heart of Riyadh. It was a surprise attack, a bold gamble against overwhelming odds, designed to seize back what was rightfully his. Against all expectations, Abdulaziz seized control of Riyadh. This lost city, once ulid by his ancestors, was now his again, a pivotal victory, yet merely the first step. To the Gayat Western powers of the Ia, Abdulaziz's victory meant little. He was just another regional warlord, an ambitious lead in a moat, forgotten cone of the world. But Abdulaziz's ambition stretched far beyond Riyadh. He envisioned a unified Arabia, a single powerful entity forged from warring tribes and scattered desert outposts. With Riyadh claimed, Abdulaziz began the arduous task of consolidating power across Najd, the heart of Arabia. This was a realm fractured by ancient feuds and rivalries. Anyway, any campaign of unification requires immense resources, money to fund armies, secure alliances, and maintain loyalty. Abdulaziz needed a financial architect. That architect was Abdulaziz al-Sulaiman, his most trusted financial advisor. In those early years, funds were scarce, a constant challenge for the burgeoning kingdom. Sulaiman played a crucial role, raising funds, securing loans, and gaining financial support from local merchants and regional leaders. His network was vital. Money was the bedrock of these efforts, crucial not just for war, but for building alliances and ensuring the unwavering loyalty of diverse tribes across the peninsula. Though a masterful blend of diplomacy, strategic alliances, and even shrewd marriages, Abdulaziz meticulously united warring tribes under his singular rule. By 1921, he had decisively defeated the al-Rashid family, securing his unwavering hold over Central Arabia. But his ambition didn't stop there. His conquest sped to the Hijaz, the Saist Aegean, housing the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. By 1925, these spiritual heatlands, too, came under his control. On September 23, 1932, a new era dawned. Abdulaziz ibn Saud proclaimed the birth of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, declaring himself its undisputed king. A kingdom was born, a desert nation united. Yet, beneath the triumph, a stark reality persisted. The newly formed nation remained impoverished, with limited infrastructure and resources. Despite his monumental military and political victories, the country's vast desert landscape offered little in the way of economic prosperity. It depended on meager trade and subsistence agriculture. Even though he ruled an area larger than Alaska, Riyadh, his capital in 1932, looked much as it had for 100 years. The Saudi kingdom desperately needed cash. But beneath those ancient sands, a monumental discovery was on the horizon, one that would transform Saudi Arabia's fate, coming from a surprising source. It would be uncovered by American hands. With the establishment of the kingdom, America's biggest oil companies saw an unprecedented opportunity in the desert. Standard Oil of California immediately dispatched a team of geologists to the barren deserts of the Arabian Gulf, hoping to find oil in what many deemed an impossible endeavor. The effort was led by Fed Davies, a geologist for Standard Oil of California. Davies understood the immense profit potential, but also the daunting uncertainty. The Arabian Peninsula was largely unexplored for oil. Many geologists believed the oil-rich fields in Iraq, Iran, and Kuwait were exceptions, doubting potential elsewhere. Davies, however, found one island kingdom in the Arabian Gulf, one he deemed more promising, Bahrain. But there was a significant problem. Many explodes, and experts had already scoured Bahrain year after year, yet all had failed to find any oil. It seemed the island had nothing to give. In 1931, Davies and his team set foot on the hot, dusty island. They began a grueling 2-year journey, battling intense heat and relying on rudimentary equipment. Every day was a test of endurance, every dill a testament to the unwavering belief. They pushed deep, defying skepticism, inching close to the unknown. Then, in June 1932, everything changed. At a depth of over 2,000 feet, the ground finally gave way. They had found it, oil. The Jabal Dukhan well became the region's first. This monumental discovery in Bahrain boded incredibly well for its much larger neighbor, Saudi Arabia. If oil was here, surely it lay beneath the vast Saudi sands too. After the Bahrain strike, Standard Oil immediately realized Saudi Arabia could be brimming with oil beneath its superficie. The potential was staggering. The company swiftly initiated negotiations for a concession agreement with the Saudi government. SoCal, though its subsidiary, California Arabian Standard Oil, was granted exploration rights. But it would take SoCal another 5 grueling years. 5 years of immense challenges, logistical nightmares, and the harsh, unforgiving desert environment. The tuning point came with the drilling of Dammam Well, number 7, affectionately known as Prospity Well. It was a last-ditch effort, a desperate gamble. In March 1938, it finally struck oil in commercial quantities, a gush of black gold promising untold riches and an undeniable future. Within 5 years, the California Arabian Standard Oil Company would have a new name, one that would become synonymous with global oil power, Aramco. Aramco's oil production continued to operate at increasing speed, even amidst the turmoil of World War II. Its success was largely due to American industrial capabilities. Americans played a crucial role, not only extracting the oil, but also seating the massive infrastructure needed for large-scale production across Saudi Arabia. With Aramco's massive success, Saudi Arabia's wealth skyrocketed, especially for the royal family, who now sat upon a treasure trove beyond imagination. In the golden glow of newfound riches, King Abdulaziz summoned his trusted ministers. He envisioned a transformed realm where desert sands would meet steel, embracing modernity. American construction companies like Bechtel poured into the kingdom, securing government contacts to modernize Saudi Arabia's infrastructure. The transformation was swift and visible. The wealth generated by oil was unprecedented. It rapidly transformed the desert county into bustling centers of commerce and innovation, drawing the world's attention. But beneath the shimmer of prosperity, unchecked indulgences began to spiral. Whispers of unsustainable extravagance and reckless spending started to rise. J. Reeves Childs, the first U.S. ambassador to Saudi Arabia since 1946, quickly became a crucial asset due to his unique diplomatic approach and close relationship with the king. Childs recounted an incident where the king, though a minister, offered him a slave girl during his stay, an unprecedented gesture given Muslim cultural norms. Despite Aramco's immense success, Childs soon received alarming news. Aramco had approved a substantial interest-free loan of $6 million for the Saudi government. Childs immediately called Washington. They confirmed what he suspected. The king and his court had spent far more money than anticipated, draining the coffers. Abdulaziz saw his kingdom as a giant Tibal confederacy, painstakingly crafted. A lead strength was demonstrated by providing for his Tiba financially, though gifts, justice, and cash. The Americans realized that if this spending spree continued, the kingdom could face bankruptcy and social unrest, jeopardizing crucial U.S. financial interests. But what happened next would catch them completely off guard. The relationship between Saudi Arabia and the United States was rapidly approaching a critical moment. With an ever-increasing demand for more profits from Aramco, King Abdulaziz ibn Saud issued a chilling threat. He would nationalize Aramco, an action perilous for both parties. On November 28, 1950, they were forced to sit at the negotiation table. The stakes were incredibly high, with the future of the kingdom and U.S. interests hanging in the balance. A financial crisis due to poor fiscal policies could ignite social instability, potentially even threatening King Abdulaziz's rule. This was a major risk for Aramco's shareholders. But for the king, ever-growing funds were crucial for different purposes. Military superiority was only part of the battle. He needed to constantly provide for his people. The negotiation lasted for a grueling month. Neither party wanted to compromise. Aramco had always taken the majority share of the profits, a setup the king now deemed unfair. King Abdulaziz ibn Saud made a bold demand. He wanted 50% of the profits. He believed this was the only truly fair arrangement, a matter of principle. For Aramco, giving away half its profits would severely impact its expansion plans, significantly slowing growth and investment. It was a staggering demand. The US government, however, recognized a great long-term imperative: keeping its Saudi business partner happy. Maximizing short-term profits was secondary to stability. They devised a very clever arrangement. Aramco would give 50% of its profits to Saudi Arabia. Simultaneously, the US government allowed these profits to be claimed as a foreign tax credit. This arrangement came at a significant cost to US government tax revenue, but it provided both Saudi Arabia and America with enough financial incentives to keep the relationship stable and profitable. The Saudis, led by Sulaiman, cleverly used American misperceptions of them as unintelligent to their advantage. They deliberately placated the Americans, playing a long game. The American Oil Company had agreed to share its profits half and half with the Saudi Arabian government. It seemed like a fair and stable solution. But while securing the 50-50 agreement seemed like a resolution, Saudi Arabia made yet another shocking demand. Despite receiving $110 million in 1950, Sulaiman demanded an advance. At this time, the king was aging, slowly passing on responsibilities to the Crown Prince Saud, chosen to succeed him. But Saud had a serious problem. Saud turned out to be a weak leader, desperate to please, but mostly himself. His reign was marked by extravagant luxuries, opulent palaces, and unchecked spending. Afraid the king and his crown prince might make rash decisions that could harm Aramco's operations, the company took a drastic step. Aramco decided to arrange a loan of hundreds of millions for the Saudi royal family from the Export-Import Bank of America, a measure of their deep concern. In 1953, at 78, King Abdulaziz faced a steep decline in health. His eyesight dimmed, circulation poor, and old injuries plagued him. He withdrew from state business. More troubling than his health was the uncertainty of succession. Though Saud was confirmed crown prince, many, including powerful ulama and royal family members, doubted his capability. To complicate matters, King Abdulaziz's second son, Faisal, introduced another layer of unpredictability. He saw weakness in his older brother, Saud, believing he would crumble under the crown's weight. Faisal, second in line, headed Saudi delegations, widely known in both Saudi and American circles as more capable than Saud. He had traveled extensively, gaining valuable experience. Amidst this succession uncertainty, King Abdulaziz ibn Saud succumbed to his illness, passing away on November 9, 1953. The founder of the kingdom was gone. King Ibn Saud of Saudi Arabia, who won a desert kingdom with his sword and secured huge revenues, though shrewd oil leases, had died after a long illness. His passing left a profound void. His conquests and unification were monumental, but his greatest triumph was guiding the county towards prosperity, though oil wealth, a legacy now etched in cities. But his death threatened to unleash massive turmoil. Transitions of power in the Middle East were often marked by bloodshed and catastrophe. A critical moment loomed. To make matters worse, Crown Prince Saud was away, making a public appearance in Jeddah. King Abdulaziz died before Saud could return to Taif. This brief moment of power vacuum created a golden opportunity for Faisal. He could assert his dominance, potentially even declare himself the new king of Saudi Arabia. But Faisal did the unthinkable. Upon Saud's return, he made a shocking decision. He pledged his support to Saud, offering him their father's ring as a symbol of loyalty. This powerful gesture set an example. The court followed suit, pledging allegiance to Saud as the new king of Saudi Arabia. The transition seemed smooth, peaceful. Ami Saud, Crown Prince since 1933, now king at 52. Faisal had missed his chance. He would soon realize the great mistake he had just made. After the seemingly smooth transition, the nation's economic situation quickly deteriorated. By early 1958, the kingdom was on the brink of a serious financial crisis. The county was deep in debt. King Saud had directed the treasury to print currency for his new government buildings, leading to rapid inflation and soon a political crisis. Despite his inner conflict about challenging his old brother, Faisal felt a deep sense of responsibility to ensure the survival of his family's rule and the kingdom itself. In early 1958, after securing the support of fellow princes, Faisal took control of the government. He staged a bloodless palace coup, removing his fiscally irresponsible brother. But when Faisal visited the Treasury Department, he made a distressing discovery. The government's reserves were almost completely depleted. The gold vaults were nearly empty. Faisal immediately fired the finance minister and assumed the Oli himself. He implemented strict austerity measures, cutting government spending and raising taxes. He understood these actions wouldn't make him popular, but Faisal knew it was crucial for the county to endure short-term hardships to recover from the previous administration's financial woes. Middle Eastern diplomats predicted a period of relative economic austerity, acknowledging Crown Prince Faisal's determined efforts to straighten out the kingdom's finances. One of Faisal's key measures was to reduce the profit-sharing agreement with Aramco. This meant his fellow princes and tribal leaders received a smaller share of the profits. This decision risked losing their support, potentially weakening his position. The delicate balance of power within the Oyal family was once again precarious. The powerless King Saud saw this as an opportunity for a comeback. He sensed a chance to reclaim his lost authority, to undo his brother's unpopular decisions. In 1961, Faisal established a comprehensive budget for the government. He understood that while recession would pass, disciplined, frugal spending was essential for long-term stability. For the budget to take effect, Faisal still needed King Saud's signature, once a mere formality. But with backing from princes seeking more money, Saud made a shocking decision. He refused to oppose it. To Faisal, this was the highest betrayal. He had no choice but to resign as finance minister in protest. King Saud was now seemingly restored to full power, his opponents vanquished. Faisal knew his policies had prevented national collapse. He understood it was only a matter of time before another opportunity arose. This time, he would be prepared to act decisively, without mercy. King Saud's extravagant lifestyle finally took a toll on his health. In late 1961, he sought medical treatment in Boston and late in Europe. His extended absence presented a clear opportunity for Faisal. Faisal took advantage of his brother's absence. He systematically began to dismantle Saud's power base, firing his allies, including the influential finance minister, Taiki. By 1963, Faisal's influence continued to grow. It became clear that King Saud's reign was inevitably weakening. A decisive action, now inevitable, had to be taken. The long struggle for power between King Saud and Crown Prince Faisal was over. Prince Faisal was now in complete control, his ascendancy undeniable. To solidify his rule, Faisal exiled King Saud, ensuring he could never regain power. With his position secure, Faisal could now focus on implementing his grand vision for the country. Saudi Arabia was on the rise. Oil discovery had completely transformed the nation, bringing immense wealth, though Aramco. A significant portion of this wealth went into modernization. But when King Abdulaziz passed away, his eldest son Saud proved ineffective and overly extravagant, plunging the county into a financial crisis due to rampant overspending. His brother Faisal stepped in. Though intense political maneuvering, Faisal eventually ousted King Saud, becoming the undisputed ruler. He vowed that under his reign, the county's finances would be managed with wisdom and foresight. To achieve this, he needed someone smart and capable to serve as his finance minister, a strategic mind to navigate the complex world of oil and finance. The man who would help Faisal transform Saudi Arabia's financial empire was Zaki Yamani. He came from a respected family of Islamic legal scholars. Yamani indiges from New York University and Harvard Law School, building a prestigious academic foundation for his future. He was not just a scholar, but a keen observer. Aramco's division of Arabian Affairs described him as a personable young lawyer with considerable legal background and practical experience in public administration in Jeddah. He built a reputation as a skilled lawyer and an influential newspaper columnist. Unknown to Yamani then, Faisal was carefully reading his articles, recognizing his brilliance. Yamani was known for his friendly, moderate approach, preferring to influence others slowly and gradually. Crucially, he had a good working relationship with Aramco executives. For Yamani, his role as finance minister came with immense responsibility and high expectations. He understood King Faisal's ambitions and was determined to make them a reality. Yamani knew that Aramco was the most critical drive of Saudi Arabia's prosperity. To secure the nation's future, Saudi Arabia simply had to increase its control over the company. But he realized the Americans would not surrender ownership willingly. A direct confrontation would be disastrous. A long-term strategy, a patient game, was necessary. Yamani did not reveal his full vision until a conference in Beirut in 1968, where he openly declared Saudi Arabia's desire for a 50% share in Aramco. He framed this desire not in terms of Arab nationalism, but as the best way for Aramco shareholders to guarantee their long-term interests. It was a masterpiece in diplomacy. During the meeting, Yamani made his bold declaration, demanding half ownership of Aramco. The gauntlet was thrown, but the response was measured. This is where Yamani's patience and skill truly stood out. Yamani and King Faisal chose not to push too hard, opting instead for a gradual plan to take control. Over the next few years, Yamani skillfully negotiated with Aramco, gradually purchasing shares in the company. It was a slow, steady accession of power. By 1972, Saudi Arabia had acquired a cumulative 25% stake in Aramco. But for King Faisal, this was not nearly enough. He knew a great opportunity was coming. Soon, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity would present itself, giving them the perfect chance to take full, undisputed control of Aramco. Good evening. The Middle East was produced developments all over the world today. The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon. In October 1973, as the Yom Kippur War erupted between Israel and a coalition of Arab states, the global stage was set for a massive economic shock. In retaliation for Western support of Israel, Arab oil-producing nations imposed an embargo, drastically cutting oil exports. Prices quadrupled overnight, leading to fuel shortages and inflation. Despite initial hesitation, Saudi Arabia joined the embargo, resulting in significant production cuts and sending oil prices soaring, impacting global markets profoundly. Even without full ownership, Saudi Arabia leveraged its sovereign authority to dictate oil export amounts, effectively compelling Aramco to comply with these dramatic production cuts. The rapid rise in oil prices brought Saudi Arabia enormous financial gains. More importantly, it undeniably demonstrated the kingdom's growing powerful control over its oil industry. By 1974, using this newfound leverage, Yamani finally persuaded Aramco's American owners to sell more shares to Saudi Arabia. The negotiations were intense, but Yamani held the upper hand. By the end of 1974, Saudi Arabia secured control of 70% of Aramco, effectively taking over the company. It was a monumental achievement for Yamani, a testament to his strategic genius. For Faisal, owning Aramco meant wielding influence on a global scale his father could never have dreamed of. Controlling such a significant share of the world's oil positioned Saudi Arabia as a formidable power. But Faisal had no idea what fate awaited him next. His vision of a strong, modernized Saudi Arabia was about to face a tragic, unexpected interruption. On a warm day in March 1975, the royal palace in Riyadh bustled with activity. Citizens and dignitaries gathered for their regular audience with King Faisal, a revered ruler for his wisdom. Among the crowd was the king's nephew, Prince Faisal bin Saud, who approached the king for what appeared to be a routine greeting, a gesture of familiarity, a moment of calm. Prince Faisal bin Saud moved close and in a sudden, shocking moment pulled out a pistol. 2 shots rang out, shattering the quiet evening of the gathering. Gravely wounded, the king was ushered to the hospital. Frantic efforts were made to save his life, but the severity of his injuries left little hope. Despite the doctor's best attempts, King Faisal succumbed to his injuries, leaving the nation in profound mourning and the world in shock. A pivotal era had ended. Many believed the assassination was linked to the death of Prince Khaled bin Saud, the assassin's brother, killed during a 1966 protest. Some speculated Prince Faisal bin Saud was mentally unstable. The oil family, stunned, swiftly easted, tied, and late executed Prince Faisal bin Saud by beheading for his heinous sin. Justice, swift and absolute, was served. The loss of Faisal marked the end of a pivotal era. He had been a key figure in modernizing the nation and strengthening its global influence, leaving an indelible mark. After the assassination of King Faisal in 1975, his half-brother, Crown Prince Khalid bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, succeeded him. King Khalid knew he must honor his late brother's efforts to modernize the country. For Yamani, the passing of King Faisal was a significant blow to their strategic plan to fully take over Aramco. The architect was gone, but the vision remained. Little did Yamani know, his own journey, one of diplomatic triumphs and strategic maneuvers, would also soon take a dark, terrifying turn. His life was about to be put at risk. 6 terrorists They weapons concealed in Spot's equipment bags bust into a meeting of the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Counties yesterday, shooting 3 people dead. On December 21, 1975, a group of 6 terrorists, led by the infamous Carlos the Jackal, stormed an OPEC meeting in Vienna, seizing 80 hostages. Among the captives were Ahmed Zaki Yamani and Iran's oil minister, Jamshid Amuzega. The world watched in horror as the high-stakes drama unfolded. After 2 days of tense negotiations, the terrorists transported the hostages to Algiers, where Yamani was eventually released unharmed. He had stared death in the face and survived. Yamani's brush with death left a profound impact. A man of deep faith, he believed Allah spared him for a purpose. Now, more determined than ever, he committed to fulfilling Faisal's vision. By 1976, Yamani finally convinced Aramco to sell 100% of its shares, but at a hefty price, $2 billion. The final push for complete control was underway. The Arabian Oil Company announced a general accord on the total takeover by the Saudi Arabian government. Observers at the time did not understand why the Americans were willing to sell. The truth was, as long as the Americans could negotiate continued access to Saudi oil for at least a while, they could abide by Saudi ownership. Guaranteed supply was paramount. Why were the Americans so willing to sell? It was simple. The price was just too good. The $2 billion payout was a deal they couldn't refuse, sweetening the bitter pill of relinquishing ownership. This accomplishment was largely attributable to Yamani's strategic employment of patience and subtle intimidation. He had mastered the art of the game, securing a monumental victory. By the year 1980, the transfer of full ownership was complete. Aramco was now entirely owned by Saudi Arabia, a culmination of decades of strategic vision. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's acquisition of full ownership of Aramco in 1980 significantly augmented its geopolitical influence and economic power. It was now a dominant force on the global stage. Controlling the world's largest oil company allowed Saudi Arabia to dominate OPEC, stabilize global oil markets, and wield energy as a powerful diplomatic tool. It also secured 100% of Aramco's profits, directly funding national infrastructure and modernization projects, transforming the nation's landscape and its people's lives. However, skepticism lingered. Could the kingdom run the company as effectively as the Americans had? There were valid concerns about declining revenues and strained international partnerships. At the time of the buyout, Frank Youngis, a United States citizen, remained chief executive officer. The Saudi government made a patient, strategic decision to keep him, ensuring stable operations until a suitable Saudi candidate was found. Her Majesty's esteemed historians do hereby recount the exemplary virtue of patience exhibited by the government of Saudi Arabia. They were in no undue haste to supplant employees with Saudi citizens, even graciously permitting the American chief executive officer to retain his position whilst endeavoring to discover a suitably qualified Saudi leader. By 1988, that person emerged. Ali Al-Naimi, the gentleman destined to lead Aramco to even greater heights, would take the helm as its first Saudi chief executive officer. Born in 1935, Ali Al-Naimi commenced his career at Aramco as an office boy. In 1947, he steadily worked his way up, pursuing education in the United States, earning degrees from Lehigh and Stanford. Naimi was amongst the first Saudis to rise through Aramco's ranks, becoming executive vice president. He was the natural choice to serve as the company's first Saudi chief executive officer, a symbol of national achievement. By the royal decree, it is hereby proclaimed that, as the newly appointed chief executive officer, Naimi did concentrate his efforts on dramatically increasing Saudi Arabia's oil production capacity to meet the rising global demand. His Majesty's vision, thus, was to solidify the country's position as the undisputed King of Oil, a title of great esteem and reverence, to be upheld for generations to come in perpetuity, 100%, and for all time, without cessation. He also commenced executing a crucial step of the plan, rendering Aramco fully Saudi Arabian. Naimi invested heavily in training local talent, steadily increasing the quantity of Saudi employees and executives. Throughout the 1990s, Aramco's power and influence grew exponentially. Saudi Arabia emerged on the global stage as a force to be reckoned with, confident in its oil dominance. Neither Naimi nor Saudi Arabia could anticipate a quiet evolution brewing in the background, one that was poised to challenge their dominance like never before. In the early 2000s, deep beneath the United States, lay a vast, untapped resource: shale oil and gas, tapped in dense rock formations, long considered too difficult and costly to extract. However, a modest cluster of pioneering engineers and geologists declined to accept this constraint. Their perseverance would shortly reshape the global energy landscape, quietly, dramatically. The breakthrough came with the perfection of two technologies: hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, and horizontal drilling. These techniques allowed extraction from previously inaccessible shale. The first major breakthrough occurred in Texas's Barnett Shale, where independent oilmen such as George Mitchell refined fracking techniques. By 2003, these methods were producing oil and gas at unprecedented levels. Notwithstanding the increasing competitive pressure from shale, Naimi made a grave error by dismissing the threat. He insisted, "It is not a threat. I am not worried about it." Henceforth, United States oil production was on the rise, rapidly catching up to Saudi Arabia's output. The result for Aramco and the kingdom was catastrophic, a shockwave throughout the global market. The sudden surge in United States production led to an oil glut. By 2014, oil prices collapsed, dropping from over $100 per barrel to below $50. This price drop shook the global oil market. The sudden surge in United States production led to an oil glut. By 2014, oil prices collapsed, dropping from over $100 per barrel to below $50. This price drop shook the global oil market. Her Majesty's royal document concerning the affairs of the petroleum industry doth hereby declare, the shale oil deposits of the United States proved more resilient than anticipated, rapidly adapting to the lower prices. The battle for oil market dominance was far from over. A new paradigm had emerged. Aramco, as a nationalized company with full government support, managed to maintain high production at a low cost during this period, and the 2014 oil crunch. Many other companies were forced out. By 2017, Aramco remained the largest oil producer in the world, accounting for roughly 10% of global production. But the shale evolution had shaken both the company and Saudi Arabia to their core. A novel, charismatic ruler of Saudi Arabia emerged. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman decreed that the moment had arrived for a fundamental, sweeping alteration. Born in 1985, Mohammed bin Salman rapidly rose to prominence within the royal family, becoming Crown Prince in 2017, after his father, King Salman, assumed the throne in 2015. His ascent involved replacing his cousin, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Nayef, as the heir apparent, a bold move that strategically consolidated Mohammed bin Salman's power and cleared his path to the throne. His Majesty's most trusted advisors have informed us that Mohammed bin Salman did detain his uncle, two cousins, and a former crown prince, accusing them of plotting a coup. This move was widely perceived as an endeavor to remove potential rivals to his succession. Securing his power, Mohammed bin Salman launched an ambitious plan to modernize Saudi Arabia's economy through the Vision 2030 initiative. Its aim, to reduce the kingdom's dependence on oil, especially Aramco. Amongst the Vision 2030 initiatives was a most startling decree. Saudi Aramco rendered it official, assuming the mantle of the largest initial public offering in the annals of history, thereby confirming £25.6 billion sterling raised. By the royal decree, we do hereby proclaim that whilst merely 1.5% was initially sold, extrapolating this to the total company made Aramco the most valuable publicly traded company in the world, thus precipitating a global financial earthquake of unprecedented proportions. Following the 2019 initial public offering, Saudi Arabia entered a new era of economic transformation. Billions were raised for Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030, aiming to diversify beyond oil. By the royal decree, it is hereby proclaimed that whilst Aramco persevered in its position of preeminence governing the realm of global oil production, the kingdom did invest most substantially in the realms of tourism, entertainment, and renewable energy. Grandiose undertakings, such as the aforementioned NEOM, served as a testament to their audacious endeavor towards the realm of innovation. From its humble, impoverished beginnings, Saudi Arabia rose from the desert sands, transforming into a global economic powerhouse, a testament to strategic foresight and determination. From its humble, impoverished beginnings, Saudi Arabia rose from the desert sands, transforming into a global economic powerhouse, a testament to strategic foresight and determination. Its journey from poverty to power is a testament to its resilience and ambition, shaping not just its own destiny, but influencing the global economy for generations to come.